Hey y'all, how y'all doing? This is Lyne't with the Lyne't Gray Show here on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, Kansas City's first global community radio station. Got to remember to say first. You are most likely listening to the Lyne't Gray Show here on Facebook on KUAW radio. You can also catch the Lyne't Gray Show and other amazing shows here on KUAW. I advise y'all to look at all of our shows on typing in the letters KUAW on YouTube, KUAW on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TuneIn, and Periscope. I don't know why I always forget this. I do this. So, and I think I got them all, but we are thanking you all so much for joining the Lyne't Gray Show. Please excuse my appearance today. I have been running like crazy, so y'all getting a little bit of the Lyne't before I started putting on makeup and all that stuff for my show. But I'm excited about our guest today, so I get to brag a little bit about our guest that we have today, Branch Huddle, Mr. B from Branch Huddle. And I am excited because this is my real little brother, y'all. This is like, I call people brother and everything, but this is real life. Mr. B is my little brother, and he has an amazing, it's online gaming, basically. E-gaming, esports. It's amazing. Anyone who's watching, if you see me looking down, please don't think I'm being disrespectful. But what I do is I answer questions and check for people, comments and messages on my other device while I'm doing the interview. Trust me, I'm listening. I really am. And so we want to start today. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. And I wanted to let everyone know the lineup, because I'm starting to create a lineup for my show to keep things simple, to keep the people in their proper weeks, because I actually had a scheduling mishap with Mr. B and Branch Huddle. And so this is not the week he was supposed to be here. But what I've decided to do is the first week of every month is going to be business, finance. No. The first week is going to be arts and entertainment. Start everything out on a happy note. The second week will be business, finance, things like that. The third week will be esports and e-gaming. And the fourth week will be government. So we're going to try to cover everything and make sure that, y'all catch a break. Yeah, we're going to make sure that y'all catch a break. Y'all are not going to be just bombarded with heaviness all the time, because I was like, I got to bring my show back up to the lightness. And I'm a music junkie. I listen to all types of music. So I want to make sure that everyone, this show is for everybody. It's for everybody. If y'all don't know, I ain't for everybody, but the show is. But hopefully he can get in, because he tried to get in earlier. Is Stefan on, Mr. Walker? All right. Okay, hold on. Okay, so we're going to turn it over to Dos Minutos with Jorge. And George, go ahead and do your thing. Can George hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Mr. Walker, email that link to me, because it's not letting me pull it up in Zoom. We getting it, y'all. We gonna get it down pat. We in the beginning of the Zoom stuff, so it's one of them days. Hey, at least it's working. At least it's working. That's the thing. At least we know it works. We know how finicky Zoom can be. Oh, George, are you here? I see his
Here.
Okay. Hey George, go ahead and do your Dos Minutos with Jorge. I see you both just like, hey.
Hey,
I'm here. Yeah, I was about to copy and paste the link and put it in the chat, just in case that may help. I know Zoom does this often where you're like, oh, it should work. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just in case. And normally, if they just have Zoom, the app, they can just type in the code, the meeting ID code, and it'll let them pull up too. So if that ever gets forgotten, if you're using the same one, you can just, make that code a part of your phone.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess I'll go ahead and do Dos Minutos to Jorge. Good afternoon or evening, everyone. This time change is definitely doing a big impact. I am in favor of removing this time change altogether. Yes. Like, let's just keep it on time. KCPS students are back in the building. I'm excited about it because when you get to see the little faces and the little smiles behind the mask, you can still see the smiles because the cheeks don't lie. They are actually engaged, excited to be present with their teachers. Parents are getting accustomed to being back in this space as well, and just it's a lot of strong support. With that being said, I'm going to talk about a little bit for a second some candidates for Missouri, for Kansas City Public School District, as well as Hickman Mills, as well as KCK Public School District. And I just recently sent an email, so you should be getting some confirmation from them. They're excited about being able to participate and finish out the Lyne't Gray Show for Women's History Month. That is Tanisha Nuna Ford, Candace Joy Buckner, Ebony Osby, and Rachel Russell. These candidates are actually out here and engaging in the community. They're running on the platforms of being parents and actually wanting to betterment the actual entirety of the school district so that every student is getting the necessary equipments to not only survive the world after high school, but thrive within it. So I just excited to just continue to follow them and watch them, and just been excited to be a supporter of their transition. It's not easy becoming a public figure, and sometimes it's overnight, so it's not easy just making that transition, and they have done so gracefully. Another bill that I want to bring back up is the Senate Bill 26. I talked about this some weeks ago, back in February. I want to just kind of make this statement again. The inspiration comes from a prejudice point of view, and it solely focuses on individuals' inconveniences during a protest. It is up for hearing scheduled March 22nd, 2021. So all of those that are in the state of Missouri, contact your senator and let them know how you feel about this bill. If you agree with it, that's your choice. If you disagree with it, they need to know so that they can support, because it does not have a lot of voice from the constituents. It states that severity and level of offense increases during a protest. The offense of unlawful traffic interference on a public street or highway is an infraction of the first violation. Any second violation that occurs is a Class B misdemeanor, and third or subsequent violation is a Class E felony. Under current law, if persons commit the offense of institutional vandalism, or if he or she knowingly vandalizes certain structures, this act provides that person shall be guilty of a Class E felony, or if he or she knowingly vandalizes a public monument or structure on public property. So that means that it is a harmful bill. It puts protesters at greater harm to not only be arrested, but to not even be able to be on probation, because it puts us at a Class E felony. And so this can impact their life after protesting. I don't think it should be something that we support, because it's simply just about we have to consider the progression of the protesters back into the workforce. It increases provisions for law enforcement during investigations. That includes knowing who made the allegation, having investigations conducted in-house, and economic compensation. So that means they're not actually on leave anymore. They're actually aware of it. They're still working. They're still getting paid. That is not acceptable. If you are making an allegation against a police officer, the investigation should be done thoroughly with due diligence, not on a biased scale with someone that is in the same house or in the same place as that officer, because we know that they're going to take care of their own. So that's one of the reasons why we were protesting in the first place. So even if we look at the lens or took the lens of race out of this bill and it just places property, businesses, and conveniences above the safety and lives of people, because it does also allow harm and actual murder to occur as a result during a protest as people are blocking traffic. That means that you can run over someone that's protesting simply because you disagree with it. That's not acceptable. With the race lens on, it seems to be a measure that okays the usage of hoses and dogs from the past because it doesn't agree with the protest. It just resembles too much of Jim Crow era type deal. So I suggest that you contact your senator, let them know that they should vote. In my words, vote no on Senate Bill 26. I do think that there should be some provisions to support police officers when they're being investigated in allegations. However, it should not be allowed at the stake of human lives or human health. So that's just my 2 cents. That is the only bill. I want to also note that KansasCityElectionBoard.org has the example ballot up. I was looking for it on Ballotpedia. It's not there, so go to kceb.org for April 6th election board ballot. Know what's on the board, know what's on the ballot. I promise you, if you're not happy with the way taxes have been going in the Kansas City area, you might want to be aware of that before you vote yes to continue it. Because if you vote no, it just stops it. But if you vote yes and it continues, it doesn't change anything. But that status quo, we want to hold things accountable. So I just suggest that you read into that further, take that opportunity. This was Dos Minutos with Jorge Fuller, representing Jorge Fuller for the people. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also reach me at fullerforthepeople@gmail.com. Thank you again. #FullerForThePeople. You're on mute. Yeah.
Okay. We having all kind of issues today. We'll be all right. Hair look a mess, but I'm all right. I'm all right. Anyway, like he said, to reiterate what he was saying, you want to go to kceb.org. That's the website, correct? You can give me a nod, George. kceb.org to look up the ballot that's coming up for the first Tuesday in April. Please understand, we are still voting. And I always say we need to do informed voting because everybody complains about the last administration, but he got voted in because people voted off of passion and not off of informed voting. And then what happened with this administration, I kept telling y'all they was doing flyovers over my house. And I told y'all war was coming. And what happened? Not even 2 months into his administration, he done dropped bombs on Syria. So, you know, we have to, his administration made it because of, you know, knee-jerk reaction voting. We have to do informed voting. We now have, Stephon, please put on your camera and take your mic off of mute. We now have, I am excited, y'all, because I be telling people, my family does amazing things. And as y'all see, my bonus family does amazing things. But this is my little brother. This is my real little brother. He will tell you I am. And Stephon, you still on mute.
Oh, sorry.
This is Mr. B from Branch Huddle. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. B.
Oh, how you doing, everybody? Mr. B, or also known as Stephon with Branch Huddle. It's a little sports channel I came up with. I do a lot of interviews with other fans. I give them an opportunity to voice how they feel about what their team is doing. I'm out on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. And I have a podcast as well at Branch Huddle. Anybody wants to get on, feel free to email me. I'm not charging nobody, nothing at all. I do all the editing myself, everything. So I do it on my own. And I just want to give all fans an opportunity to just kind of voice their opinion about their teams and let themselves be heard.
Absolutely. So what I liked about it was that number one, he ain't charging y'all. So if you're a fan, voice your opinion. The most amazing thing is that he just started doing this. Tell everybody how you got started, because it was just an idea, because he's always got real good sports commentary. He's got good stuff, but I was like, he's pretty knowledgeable about sports. He should be on ESPN somewhere. Then he came up with Branch Huddle. Go ahead.
Yes, I got started because, especially when I joined the military, I would always talk sports with all my friends. and we would all just sit together and talk about it. It was like, man, like a lot of stuff that we would talk about would actually end up coming true, or we would be right about either certain players we were talking about selecting, or certain moves or draft picks or something like that. And they're like, man, we should put this out there, like, so people can hear this. And so a lot of, like, I was like, man, I should create some sort of a platform where everybody can just have opportunity to talk about their team. And then we can kind of debate back and forth respectfully, not be too disrespectful with it, but respectfully debate back and forth and hear each other's opinion and just kind of get it out there and allow everyone to just be able to just talk about sports. Cause we all do it all the time.
Everybody loves sports. Yeah, everybody has their own sport. So what is the biggest feedback? What is the sport that gets the most feedback for Branch Huddle?
Oh, definitely NFL. NFL gets all the time. I try to talk basketball. I usually get on other people's channels to talk basketball. And then baseball, I'm not too familiar with. I have a couple of friends that are really good with baseball knowledge. So I just allow them, if they ever want to come on and do it, they can. But, with a lot of people having kids and stuff, the time is kind of off, and then I'm in Eastern time zone, so I'm up pretty late editing and helping other people get on there so they can do their thing. So,
and that's awesome. So my question to you is, because we pretty much baseball season right now. So do you have, like you said, you're not well versed in baseball, but do you have any teams that you're telling people to watch out for? Like, I know you're Kansas City, but is the Royals your favorite team? Like, the Royals are my favorite team, but I'm not gonna say nothing about the Chiefs. They're not my favorite team, but I'm gonna keep my mouth hush. But I'm a hometown girl when it comes to baseball. But what do you see as far as the baseball season coming up? Have you looked into it, or?
I looked into it a little bit. I am a Royals fan, originally from Kansas City too. My first baseball game was a Royals game. Shout out to Troy. He helped me go to the Royals game. But yeah, I'm a huge Royals, well, not huge Royals fan, but I'm a Royals fan casually. Like, I'll go to the game and everything. But as far as teams to look out for, shoot, I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you.
But that's one of the things with Kansas City. Kansas City is a really big football town, so everything is Chiefs. Now, I didn't want to jinx the Chiefs because, I'm not a fan. So I was in and out of watching the game or whatever, the Super Bowl game. And just from your perspective, as a fan, as a student of the game, what did you see that could have definitely turned that situation around? Because a lot of people were yelling cheating. But from a perspective of a fan of neither, I saw some things that the Chiefs could have took over, but they lacked in a certain area. What did you see?
So it's funny you said that, because I actually had a YouTube video on it with a couple of my friends who are Chiefs fans. We had a short little conversation on it. Go check it out, YouTube. So when I was looking at it, my assumption was we had like the preview show. So for me, I was like, hey, you got to come out and run the ball. You drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the first, or not first overall pick, but with your first round pick, and he was available. So I'm like, why not use him? And when they used him in the second half of the game, he was getting about like close to 10 yards of carry. And then they went away from that. Yeah. And then they went away from that. And then, they tried to go back to passing. Granted, there were some injuries on both ends of the offensive line. And I feel like with Patrick Mahomes, a lot of people get complacent and they're just like, they just automatically feel that, oh, we got Patrick Mahomes, we can do anything. But it's like, you literally have the game plan. And when you watch a lot of the games, Patrick Mahomes drops way back, like 5 to 15 yards to launch the ball to Tyreek Hill or something like that. But when they start playing that 2 deep safety, like they did, if you look at their earlier regular season game, in the first half, they were like, oh, we're going to go 1-on-1. That's how Tyreek Hill got 200 yards in the first half. Then that second half, they were like, all right, no more 1-on-1. We're going to drop 2 deep safeties. And then they were able to contain Tyreek Hill. And then I think they held them to 7 points after that. And ended up making it a good game. And so I was like, you literally look at that game plan. The Raiders use a similar game plan. And I think the Falcons use a similar game plan. They held them to like 17 points. So a lot of teams are starting to catch on to what they're doing. And it's very gimmicky. And so I was like, you have to start out running the ball, because that's not what they're not going to expect you to come out running the ball.
Yeah.
And so,
but
and
that's
not
when you said
that.
when I saw that, I said, "Oh my God, they're about to get beat," because that's how the Raiders beat them. Because I did watch that game, and so for me, I know about football. I'm a football mom, but I'm not like an analyst. In by any means, I'm a student. But I recognize the mistake that they made, and I was like, at what point? A lot of people were yelling, cheating. They were like, "Oh, Tom Brady, they cheated for him. They cheated for him." But I said, at what point does the coaches take responsibility for making a decision that lost you a game against the Raiders? Because it was very, I know when they took Tyreek Hill off of the one-on-one run, I said, "Uh-oh." And I sat there and I watched. I said, "Let me walk away because I'm gonna jinx it. So let me walk away because I'm gonna jinx it." And I walked away, and then I went back, and it was like watching a train wreck that you've seen happen before. And you're like, "Y'all don't remember that train, and you gonna sit right there again?" So that for me, I guess, and some of the stupid stuff makes me not be able to be a Chiefs fan. I'm sorry, because our coaches in our city for Chiefs seem to do, but I will jump over to stupid stuff with organizations, which is when the Royals, we won in 2015, and they completely dismantled the World Series team because they were refusing to pay money that they had in the bank. And then they bring some of them back trying to recreate magic that was already there that they should have left alone. And so, tell me, what do you think about that when you see team owners start to get greedy and not pay the people who bought you the championship and the extra money anyway? How do you feel about seeing that?
So for me, like baseball, I feel like baseball should have a salary cap like all the other sports. So you look at football, they have a specific cap. You look at basketball, they have a cap, and then you can go into it a little bit with the luxury to retain your own players that you own the bird rights to.
Right.
But with baseball, it's like there's no cap. As rich as the owner is, as rich as the revenue you bring in, that's as much as you can pay the player. And so I feel like Kansas City not being a huge market like a New York market or a let me see what other big markets. Like basically, let's just go with New York. Like a New York market,
New York, that's a big
or
market.
Los Angeles markets or anything like that, like the Dodgers or something like that. You could pay, or Texas, you have unlimited money to use because the owners have their hands in other businesses. They have a bunch of advertisements for that stadium, et cetera, et cetera. So they're able to splurge that kind of money. Kansas City, however, unfortunately, we're like a mid-market to low market team. So we can only pay so much. So I feel like with the owners, yes, they were greedy and they were trying to still maintain their lifestyle while still having a team, which is unfortunate for us as fans because, we still pay for the tickets regardless. I've seen some faithful Royals fans. They were going during
one of my close friends, my son's best friend's mom, she is a faithful Royals fan. My son got to go to his first Royals game because she took him. Her wedding was done in Royals gear. So she is definitely a faithful Royals fan. They went after the wedding, and their after the wedding event was to a Royals game. So, but at some point, I feel like Kansas City, like for a while, we had David Glass. David Glass is Walmart. When you go to another country and you see a Walmart, you realize how much money Kansas City owners have. But I feel like as with certain cities, I've noticed I've stepped back from sports, with the whole Kaepernick situation when I was like, okay, a black man has the right to watch as much NFL as he wants to watch. But me supporting all of my brothers and my sons and my cousins, I'm just not going to watch. And I sat back and observed that the owners do have the money and they can bring in the money. They can definitely bring in the money. The city can bring in revenue. But like with the Kansas City Kings, and I'm going back, I'm showing y'all how old I am. The Kansas City Kings was a basketball team. Who's the Kings with the basketball now?
Sacramento.
Sacramento. They were originally Kansas City. The Sacramento Kings were originally Kansas City Kings at Kemper Arena. I know, Mr. Walker, I know you remember that. And they didn't have the support. And so the reason why they won't bring the NBA back to Kansas City is because they've done Kings were ABA or something like that. I don't know if they were NBA. I think they were ABA. But back then the ABA was equal to the NBA. And because they've done that before, they're like, Kansas City didn't support it. We're not bringing them back. But I always place the blame on lack of support on the owners. Because as hype as you get the people about the team, look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs did not win a Super Bowl from 68? Didn't even have an appearance.
3, I think it was.
From Super Bowl 3 to 2020. I thought we would never have another Super Bowl in this city. I'm 45 years old, and they hadn't been since like 8-9 years before I was born. I think it was 68, so it was more like 7 years before I was born or whatever. I don't do my math real good, y'all. Mom brain. But what was the one thing that was consistent with the Kansas City Chiefs? Their marketing. They're keeping the people involved. They were consistently raising the prices of tickets and parking long before they ever even made it to the AFC Championship. Long before they saw Tom Brady in the AFC Championship. They were consistently one of the highest grossing revenue teams. And so when we get to looking at teams and people say, well, our city doesn't have this or our team doesn't have that, I always look at developing that marketing, and most Chiefs fans are Chiefs fans because their parents were Chiefs fans. So, in looking at that, what do you consider to be the owner's responsibility? Like you said, but now that you see it from that perspective, do you think that, because like Golden State, let's go to Golden State. They almost created a juggernaut team. They almost did because they poured that money into making everybody on their bench 3-point shooters. Do you feel like the owners have to take sole responsibility when there is financial lack? Because I hear you say salary cap for baseball, but I feel like the salary cap might hurt baseball because, you put everything on an even playing field, but then the players don't have the dreams of being that dang near $1 billion player, so they just don't get out there and play.
Agree. Yeah, I agree. Now for baseball, and yes, for the owners, yes, it is specifically on the ownership, especially when it comes to baseball, because like I said, there's no cap. All that money comes specifically from them, and they have the rights to spend it however they want. And as far as building a contender, you have to be able to recognize who is knowledgeable enough to know how to build like your farming system and everything like that. And like I said, I don't know too much about baseball, but I know a little bit. But it's just your farming system, with the AAA league and AA league and stuff like that. Now the Royals started out great this year. They're doing great this year. And same thing, if you go back to like earlier years, like Johnny Damon and stuff, he was with the Royals. But we just couldn't afford him, so then he went to the Red Sox.
Yeah, when you brought up Johnny Damon, I always tell people back then we had the World Series team. We sent them to other teams because that Johnny Damon era, you had Kane, Damon. We had World Series players, and we look up and they went to another team, and that team is in the playoffs. So go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. So it's just the onus goes on the ownership for that because they have to be able to recognize the talent, and they have to, be willing to kind of shell out some money. Like you were talking about, there was a difference between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals. The Chiefs were able to market themselves, and then they were still able to somewhat build a contender, but the salary cap did assist in that because it does even out the playing field a little bit to where you don't have the Yankees being able to be like, oh, this player shows promise, so we're going to pay him $500 million over 12 years. Like, Royals players can't afford that. That's our whole salary cap for the whole year. So it's like they can't really afford to pay their players. But if they were to able to work on their marketing ability, even after we won the World Series, I didn't really hear too much about the Royals after that.
You did.
Like, they didn't capitalize on that World Series win to build like a market for them like the Chiefs have.
Yeah, and it's something because when you said that the Chiefs had the money, because I remember at one point in time the Chiefs had the most money to spend on their team, and Clark Hunt was refusing to spend that money. And I don't know, the NFL or somebody told them, I know it was either 2014 that they were forced to spend that money because the Chiefs had saved so much money from the salary cap that they were basically essentially lowballing their players, and they had tens of millions of dollars sitting there that needed to be spent. I think that might be the reason why I'm almost against the salary cap, but I get what you're saying, which is, you know, let's say the Patriots, if it wasn't a salary cap, then the Patriots would take all of everybody's players by just coming to them and saying, hey, we drafting you, we the Patriots. I know they offering you $1 million. We'll pay you $20 million, even though we don't think you're worth it. We'll put you through our system and we'll pay you $20 million to start. So I can understand definitely what you're saying about that. I have some comments. Hi, Mrs. Walker. She says she's watching. And my son Desmond, the professor, he said he is a huge Royals fan, which he is. And that's one thing I think, Desmond, you can attest to. When they won the World Series, like Stefan said, the marketing, the Royals should have been everywhere. It was crazy how the Chiefs were everywhere, but the Royals won the World Series and it was silent. So speaking of baseball, I have something that I wanted to talk to you about. I don't know if you heard about it because you're in Seattle. They bought back the Kansas City Monarchs.
What?
Yeah. Oh, so you didn't hear about it. Okay.
No, I did not.
Our minor league team, which used to be, who was our minor league team? You know, it was over in Kansas City, Kansas. They always played at the stadium.
Was it the T-Bones?
The T-Bones.
Yeah.
The T-Bones. The T-Bones, and I don't know if the Negro Leagues, I don't know who approved this. I saw it and was disgusted. But they have now renamed the T-Bones the Kansas City Monarchs. But we know that the Monarchs were created to create a place for Black players who could not play anywhere else. You know, if you said you were Puerto Rican or if you said you were Dominican, then you could get on another team. But if you were Black, you know, they wouldn't let you on another team. So, you know, knowing that they've done that with the T-Bones, but they ain't stacked the team with Black. You going out there looking at the Monarchs and the Monarchs ain't even Black. How does that make you feel? I mean, it's not even Black in the offices. They could at least said, let's make our offices, you know, bring in majority Black, but it's just the Monarchs. And this is official. They officially have that name now. How do you feel about hearing that?
So this is going to be my raw reaction right now with doing no research whatsoever. It kind of bothers. I feel like it's a marketing ploy. What they're doing is because you know, with African American culture and other cultures besides white culture, it's at an all-time high right now. You see a lot of representation of us in everything.
I'm wearing,
but now we're actually getting credit now. Like, is it coming to America to, like, you know, you see all the outfits, like everybody's talking about the outfits more than they're talking about the movie.
Right.
And so I think now what they're doing is capitalizing on that and saying, oh, we're going to bring back the Monarchs. Then everybody's going to want to come because they know the history of the Monarchs. I could be wrong.
Right.
I'm not doing any research. This is just my raw reaction, but it's a marketing ploy to get more minorities involved in coming to spend money on merchandise, because we can't go to the games yet because of COVID, but it'll put more money in their pockets as far as buying stuff. I'm like, oh, they got Monarchs merchandise. I used to see people on Monarch stuff back when I was still living in Kansas City, but I feel like now it's a marketing ploy for me.
And I'm blessed to have one of the very first throwback jerseys that was ever made, and they gave it to an actual Monarch, Negro Leagues player, Lefty Lamarck, and his daughter is my age, and you know, they made sure that we got the jersey. So those jerseys are worth a lot of money, and they're really like made like the Monarchs actually wore, which was heavy. We have some comments here. Desmond said marketing in baseball is trash in general. You are right about that.
Yes.
He also said baseball doesn't market its stars as well. I mean, do y'all know about Mike Trout, Bryce Harper? He said exactly. That's true. I'm gonna have to look up Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. He said, and I didn't agree with that Monarchs reboot. I don't think anybody, he said the Monarchs reboot is super disrespectful to my Black heritage. Leave that name alone. Tebow's stealing the culture without actually participating in it. And that's what, you know, it came across with me. You know, they're stealing the culture and they don't have to participate in it. And the participation in it is simply what the Monarchs did. They had an all-Black team. If you're going to be the Monarchs, you got to make the Monarchs look like the Monarchs and deal with the lawsuits or whatever else. You know, George said the culture was sold. It was sold. Yes. The culture was sold, and it was sold by us. And so do you think that this will begin to happen? I mean, I know this is your first raw reaction, but if this goes over successfully, do you foresee in baseball others trying this method of renaming it after the Negro Leagues?
Yes, because money talks. So if they were to start getting rich off the Monarchs, then yes, everyone is going to capitalize on it. Everyone's going to do it. Just like you see with the NBA, they were able to customize the back of the jerseys. I feel like that's going to be a going thing now. Same thing with the NFL. Like it's going to be a growing thing. Granted, I know a lot of times they're trying to bring awareness to it, but there's some stuff where they do try to capitalize on the culture.
Yeah, it's a financial thing, and like you said, you know, Black is the new Black. I've been telling people, everybody's like, "Oh, this is the new Black," and I'm like, "Nah, Black will always be Black." And so now Black is the new Black, if you want to say it for lack of a better term. And so they are more open because we've always been the cash cow, but they are more open to making us the cash cow and trying to make it seem like it's support. George said, what did you say, George? You said DEI trends. Let me go back to the chat because George is making comments in the chat. He said DEI trends in all facets. That is very, very true. Very, very true. Desmond said, seeing trash white players in a Monarchs jersey gonna make my blow up boy.
He's right though. He's right. He's right. And same thing with the whole marketing thing. Baseball, because they used to their thing was America's pastime. Like no one watches baseball on TV. Well, I ain't gonna say no one, but the decline is there for baseball as far as watching it on television. Everyone's tuning in to basketball. Everyone's tuning in to football, especially now football, because now that the Patriots started losing again and Kansas City started, winning, it's like, okay, we have this. Like the NFL, they're actually starting to put Patrick Mahomes as the face of the league. And I was having this conversation with a few of my friends, and I was like, Patrick Mahomes is going to be a face of the league because he's the best of both worlds. He's a mixed child, but he's not like like a lot of times, like looking at the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. Seattle had the ball at like 2-yard line. They could have punched it in with Marshawn Lynch, who had been dicing up the Patriots all game long. And what did they do? Russell Wilson, who is mixed.
Russell Wilson.
He looks like the good old boy. We're going to throw the ball with him instead of running the ball. They didn't want Marshawn Lynch being like a face of the NFL because they were like, we can't have this particular face representing.
And to just break it down simply, because Marshawn Lynch is my favorite, he was one of my favorite players. George said, but you have to watch them in Monarch years. T-Bones had to go because they owed money. And he's right. But the Marshawn Lynch situation was to quell the actual what they view as the thug Black man.
Yep.
He had the long dreads, the way he talked, his swag, which is every Black man when he's not in the office. Well, I can't say every, but majority. You all get to relax around family, but he didn't code switch and change who he was. And so, like you said, they had to make the face more palatable. The Lynch is the unpolished Negro. That's all it is, Yeah. And that's right, George. Lynch is the unpolished Negro. Desmond said the Monarchs back in the day had major league talent. T-Bones has rarely had major league talent. And now they're taking a legendary name. Come on, so trash, y'all. And you're right, because anytime we're still telling the story of Jackie Robinson. Like they said, Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige was supposed to be Jackie Robinson, but you call Satchel Paige the N-word, he can hit you in the face with a baseball. So you couldn't do that with Satchel Paige. he didn't have the composure, his temper, and that's well known around Kansas City that Satchel Paige would get in your behind something vicious with some fists if he faced racism. And so to put that name on a minor league team, that is a double slap to me. That's a double disrespectful. When we got to talking about Marshawn Lynch and everything, let's go into who you think the next great, possibly, I'm not seeing nothing that's really Hall of Fame for running backs once, certain groups have passed. I've been trying to make a Hall of Fame running back out of these newer years. I don't see it. Do you?
So if we're talking about current players that are playing right now,
that are actually playing, yes.
Yeah, my mind automatically goes to Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Had 2,000 rushing yards this past year. He is a behemoth of a man. If you see him standing next to other NFL players, he makes it look like me standing next to my older brother. So It's like, and if no one knows who my older brother is, Rob Mason, he's about like 6'3",
Yeah. Rob is yeah.
And it makes you look at,
he's my little brother.
Yeah. So it makes he makes other players look like children. And then you look at his highlights, he's stiff arming dudes left and right. And he, like I say, he just ran for 2,000 rushing yards this past season. And so he's kind of like my next one. If he continues on the path that he's on, he could potentially make the Hall of Fame. There's Christian McCaffrey from the Carolina Panthers. He's as long as if he can come back healthy. But Derrick Henry is the first player that comes to mind as far as being a Hall of Fame person that's still playing right now in their prime. Adrian Peterson, you probably go with him too. He's going to make it. Frank Gore is going to make it. I don't know if he's going to make it a first ballot, but Frank Gore, I think, is second in rushing. I think he just passed Barry Sanders.
Yeah, he just passed Barry Sanders.
Yeah, so he's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. But as far as players playing right now, like in their prime, who are actively playing, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
And you and my son Desmond are saying the same thing, because Desmond said no Hall of Fame running backs in the current crop. He said, okay, yeah, Derrick Henry, and he said Christian McCaffrey before you said it. He said Dalvin Cook, maybe. The Saints running back, Alvin Kamara, them four. Yeah. Adrian is a shoe-in, and he was, we all know Adrian Peterson is a shoe-in. I mean, that's not even a question. But so looking at, the one thing that is painful for me to watch in football is all the flags that get thrown for just little stuff. So who do you see? We're going to switch it to football, y'all, for everybody who's watching for baseball, basketball. Sorry, but I'm a football mom. Who do you see from the current crop that, is just, they don't even have to, Tony Gonzalez was Hall of Fame even though he didn't have a ring. So you look at Calvin Johnson, Megatron. Those are the names that come up for these wide receivers that are just amazing, and they are, like you said, just dominant over their opponents. Who do you see in this current crop that can possibly make a name for themselves, even if they don't win a Super Bowl, but make a name strong enough to possibly go first round for the Hall of Fame?
So if we're talking about players without a championship,
it doesn't matter with or without. But the with kind of carries a little bit more weight. So that's the reason why I like to exclude the with, because they be like, oh, they won Super Bowl, so they go. What if they didn't win one? Who do you see?
So for me, as far as for players who didn't win the Super Bowl, George Kittle, tight end out of San Francisco. He is he has the Hall of Fame talent to get there. He just has to continue to remain healthy. Let's see, coming through. I would probably say, because all the top quarterbacks right now have basically won Super Bowls, so it's kind of hard to say a quarterback, because most of them won Super Bowls. And then as far as wide receivers, like Julio Jones, I think Julio Jones will make it. DeAndre Hopkins is going to make it.
Okay. You think DeAndre Hopkins going to make it first round now? You think?
Yes, if he continues down the same path he's going, yes, because he's been considered the top of the top for years. He performed with TJ Yates at quarterback, Brock Osweiler as his quarterback. You know, he had Deshaun Watson, he's got Kyler Murray now, but like he's performed with like second and third stringers and still had over 1,000 rushing yards and wasn't missing games consistently. So I feel like the Iron Man aspect kicks in for him. And the fact that he's made such fabulous catches, you know, one-handed catches. He's kind of like Larry Fitzgerald to me. And even Larry Fitzgerald is going to get in first ballot when he retires.
Definitely first round. Definitely. Yeah. If he don't get in first round, I'm writing off NFL permanently. So from the draft, who do you see? I mean, the draft is always surprising because I remember watching Julio Jones go through the training, and you know they really didn't focus on Julio as much, but he was part of a class of guys that certain guys that they were focusing on. They got more shine than Julio, but I can't even tell you who they are. So in just the documentaries that were leading up to the draft in general, certain guys got more shine than Julio did, but they're not there anymore. So as far as the draft, I know it's hard to predict when you're dealing with draft people. Who do you see coming in and establishing a name and doing possibly amazing things?
Okay, glad you asked that question. So I probably have it by position except for running back, because running back this year isn't as strong as it has been in past years. Everybody's gonna say Travis Etienne, but you know I haven't seen enough from him to say he's gonna be great in the pros. But as far as for wide receivers, Jamar Chase from LSU. For anybody who doesn't know who that is, he sat out this past year due to COVID, but you look at that championship year with Joe Burrow. If you watch, Trayvon Mullen was a first rounder. No, I'm sorry, not Trayvon Mullen. AJ Terrell was a first rounder. And that championship game, he literally tore him up. It was, he had 202 or 209 reception yards off of 9 receptions. For anyone who doesn't know, in contrast, you have Justin Jefferson, who this past year was arguably the rookie of the year and broke a lot of rookie receiving records. He, in that same game, he had, Justin Jefferson had 9 receptions, for like 150 yards, maybe 180. I think it was 180 tops. And they were both switching off between AJ Terrell, and they were both doing them in. But you look at Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is like a perfect blend of athleticism, route running, power running. He's got great hands. Like, he demolished him in that championship game, and he outperformed Justin Jefferson in that same game. So if you think that Justin Jefferson was good, look out for Jamar Chase. And everyone just keeps forgetting because he opted out. And I keep telling people,
right. And until you said that, I was like, because I in banning NFL in my house, I still watch college football. So I became a bigger college football fan, and it's exciting because they hungry. They trying to get to the NFL. So they're not there with their contracts. They hungry. They want to eat. And so you are absolutely right. He is a beast. So I'm hoping to see him get to the NFL and keep that same hunger and fire and just skyrocket it. Who else you got? Who else you think?
There's another player, Xavier Collins. He's a linebacker from Tulsa. Also another player that I would love everyone to go look at. He's got instincts. He can, he has good, he's a good pass coverage linebacker. He can rush the linebacker. He can play outside or inside. He played inside in a 3-4 scheme at Tulsa. And he had enough talent to where he could have played the outside linebacker. And so I tell everyone to look out for him too. And then I really like this, the quarterback from Texas A&M, Kellen Mond. A lot of people watch the Senior Bowl. It comes on NFL Network a lot. If you watch a lot of his passes were on point, but his receivers were dropping them. I like Trey Lance. I like Zach Wilson from BYU. Both of those are quarterbacks. And another receiver, I forgot it, Devonta Smith. I love Devonta Smith. He's small. He's about 180 pounds, 185 pounds, but he has the same talent that Jamar Chase has, but just in a smaller frame. I like him coming out of college. Let me see. As far as DBs, I like. I'm torn between Caleb Farley and Patrick Surtain. They're both good corners. It's like a 1A, 1B thing for me. And then for your rush linebacker, or for your defensive line, for a pass rusher, I don't really have a favorite pass rusher because everyone it just kind of seems everyone's not on the level playing field, but everyone has their issues to where if they land in the right system, then they'll flourish.
Develop into, yeah, that's what I said about the pass rushing this year. But as far, go ahead and finish. Oh no,
you can go ahead, because I could go on for about 2-3 hours just talking about candidates all the way down the line.
Especially when it comes to football. But as far as your O-line, who do you see? Because O-line don't get a whole lot of attention. But who do you see, coming in and, being that on the O-line that the teams cannot live without? They got to have him in order to protect the quarterback and in order to, stop the rusher, in order to, just keep the team. Because one thing we did see with the Chiefs, the O-line collapsed in the Super Bowl. That was evident. I'll tell people I know what I'm talking about because I was a right tackle. I played football, right tackle, and I watched the line collapse. I know what each person on the O-line is supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it. And at some point in time, you still have to keep mental toughness, and you cannot let what's happening with the game get to you to where your quarterback is getting got every time. So who do you see that teams can put on the O-line to solidify, create a system, say that's our person? Did you see anybody coming out of college that for the O-line that, go ahead.
Oh, yes. Rashaan Slater from Northwestern. I've been on him. If you go back and look at his tape against Ohio State when he played against Chase Young, a lot of the knocks on him is that he has short arms. But if you look at his game against Chase Young, he was able to use his power and his balance and kept Chase Young in check. If you don't know, go ahead and YouTube it. It's a phenomenal showing of just like football ability. And then if you watch his pro day, I forgot how much he benched, but he benched a lot, and he ran like a 5'1", I think, or a 5'2", or he can run 5'1" or 5'2". But and then obviously Penei Sewell from Oregon, he sat out this past year to COVID, but he's probably he's the consensus #1 offensive lineman that's coming out. A lot of people are very high on him. I am too, but I like Rashaan Slater a lot more because I saw him against Chase Young. And then in the next year when Chase Young got to the NFL, I watched Chase Young bowl over 2 offensive linemen, a tight end, and a running back all in the same game against the Giants. And then I think in one play, he bowled over a tight end, offensive lineman, and a running back to get to the quarterback. And so I'm like, if you have a offensive lineman that can handle Chase Young one-on-one, I'm all with you right there. So Rashaan Slater is a can't miss offensive lineman, and I feel like he's going to get to a team, and you're instantly going to see him change the culture on that offensive line, just like Mekhi Becton did with the Jets last year.
Well, we have 30 seconds. I need you to go ahead and tell everybody where to find Branch Huddle. And I thank you so much, Mr. B. This, like I told y'all, this is my real little brother, Stefan. I thank you so much. And we could have kept going on this. This was an enjoyable, fun show for me. Go ahead and let everybody know in 30 minutes where to find you.
Yes. Okay. So you can find me on YouTube at Branch Huddle, BranchHuddle, all one word together. On Instagram, same thing with Branch Huddle. Spotify is also Branch Huddle. If you just want to find all of my links in one spot, you can go to Linktree. I think it's linktr.e or something like that. It's on Linktree. It's on Google. You can type in Branch Huddle there too. It'll have all of my social media contacts, or all my social medias on there. You can just click on the link and it'll take you automatically to that page. And you can email me at Branch Huddle if you ever want to get on the show with me. If you ever want a platform to talk about your team, just email me. I will set it up. We'll set up a time. We'll get on Zoom. I'll record it, and you can pick whatever subject you want. We can go back and forth debating. Anyone who wants to get on, you can bring 4 people on with you, 5 people, however many Zoom lets me get on there. We'll all get on there together and just debate all night long if you want to.
Thank you. This is the Lyne't Gray Show with Branch Huddle, Stefan Branch, Mr. B on KUAW knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. I want to wish everybody joy, love, peace, happiness, health, wealth, well-being, and total enlightenment. Y'all take care.
Y'all take care. Thank you.